Hey, what's up? It's Command HQ. I am Brock Ferdine, as always, here ready to go. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the predictive nature and the taunting regarding the media's coverage of these ballot cases with Trump. And it's almost like they're taunting these other state Supreme Courts to keep Trump off the ballot. So after the Colorado decision, now we have Michigan, nearly doing the same thing, except quickly changing course right before the radical decision is going to be issued. And because of the rolling nature of these radical decisions, at any point can they come back, repetition the court, and then deny Trump a chance on the ballot. And I think that they're going to try and do this as close to the election as possible, meaning right before mail-in ballots are able to be mailed in, or just the general election date, November 4th or 5th, whenever that is in November of 2024. And I also wanted to talk about the fact that YouTube has been nerfing the stream. There's been a lot of discussion about the fact that, notifications aren't going out. They're doing some surveillance operation where I can't even delete videos. So I know what's going on, but I also don't want to bring undue attention to it, meaning it's just drama, and it's unnecessary. And then we had a couple other stories about, Giuliani ordered to pay Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss in the bankruptcy case in New York. And we got a few other just tweets and comments to go over, some European cultural enrichment stuff from Radio Genoa, which is a ex-Twitter account that has been getting a lot of attention. I think Elon Musk retweeted it a couple times or replied to it because he's been in Italy. I think it's an Italian account. And they publish a lot of these videos regarding the migrants or the immigrants coming into Europe, specifically France and Italy, but occasionally other parts of Europe. I think that the video I have up is of Denmark as well. And I've been watching a lot of other interesting analysis, and I was watching a Victor Davis Hanson piece when he was doing some live stream on Rumble. I can't exactly remember. And he's got a very, a similar dry rhetorical approach that I have, but it's certainly not the most exciting thing to listen to. But it's very logical. And I'm not saying that Victor Davis Hanson is right by any means, but one thing that kind of piqued my curiosity when he was responding to a question is someone asked him, like, how the parties have changed over the past 5 or 10, even 20 years. And Victor Davis Hanson said that, back in the 70s, the Democrats kind of were the lunch pail party, the middle class party, and they stuck up for workers. Those are the stereotypes of the classical Democrats. And, then you had the Republicans. Even in those days, if you go back and look and you talk to a lot of people who lived through that period, the Republicans were always characterized as kind of this sort of like anti-free speech because there was the Vietnam War going on, and then more hawkish, they weren't jiving with the times. So when Victor Davis Hanson was talking about that and then contrasting that with everything today, and he said it's not like a complete 180, but there are huge differences now and then, where the Democrat Party today is the party of the wealthy elites and extremely poor immigrants, migrants, or just the extremely poor inner city living off state welfare funds, or whatever, living off the state. And I would add to that. I would tweak that a little bit, in that what I've experienced and all the research I've done, particularly lately, is that the Democrat Party is composed of, and I have this written down just so I don't misstate it, trying to get in the better habit of doing this. So the Democrat Party is largely composed of wealthy elites, radical women, and migrants, and has this built-in support system that attracts middle-aged women and nanny state mothers. Meanwhile, the Republican Party is comprised of the middle class, effectively, and people with common sense. And so there has been, polar switch to some degree, more or less, regarding some of those values and principles. That's kind of what I've seen. And I think, if anything, the wealthy elites have some control over policy, but it's really these middle-aged, radical women, mostly feminists, who want to build a nanny state, tell everyone else what to do based on this ridiculous way of life where you have to seek guidance, and there's absolutely no common sense whatsoever in that, guidance. And if you look at what the Democrats have done to all these major cities, New York being the epicenter, Los Angeles being kind of a secondary epicenter, they've destroyed them. I was looking at Zillow too, just casually, not even doing a deep dive, on the prices of real estate in New York. And for like a little dumpy house, you're paying $1 million. I don't even know if it was 1,000 square feet. It was maybe 800 or 900 square feet in Flushing, New York, right outside New York City. And, a townhouse in Brooklyn, $1.5 million easy. And you're probably going to have to do a lot of rehab on it. The same real estate in other parts of the country, depending on where you live, could go for probably about $50,000 or maybe $100,000. I was trying to intellectually compare it to what that would cost here. And maybe if it was in the most expensive market and you're going to do some rehab on it, maybe $120K, maybe. And we've seen an explosion in house prices too. So 10 years ago, that same property would be worth $15,000, $25,000. In fact, Um, one of the houses that I ended up buying with an ex, I think before it was remodeled, it was similar. It sold for like 12 or $13,000, 15, 17 years ago. And so I was thinking, well, like if the Democrats have destroyed New York, and, one of the measurements for that destruction is house prices, because New York isn't, an incredible place to live. There's tons of people, it's crowded, the weather isn't that great. It's a little bit better than here, but not much. Um, and it's the policies and the mismanagement, and then you're thinking like, why does this happen? Everyone's like, well, it's, malfeasance, it's incompetence, and it's pretty clear, it's obvious. These are deliberate actions, all right? I think there are some people maybe that are kind of thinking they're involved in something and they might be naive. And there's some incompetence there. But by and large, you know, if someone wants to make something work, they'll figure out a way. And they're clearly, and over all of these years, um, it's remarkable. It's really remarkable. And I think the migrant crisis has really also put that on the doorstep of most people in New York and even Los Angeles and other parts of this country. I'm already seeing migrants way up here. All right. Don't know much about this. I don't even know the name of the bankruptcy judge, but apparently this bankruptcy judge ordered Rudy Giuliani to start making payments from his estate. And I don't know the technical minutia, but looks like Rudy Giuliani did not do a very good job of obscuring his assets from being accessed in this bankruptcy petition. He should have been ready for this, and I think this is a good window of evidence into what Mike Lindell and My Pillow need to be doing, and I'm sure he has done that. I talked about this a little bit, which is that Mike Lindell has been pouring all of his assets into Lindell TV and streaming and advertising and paying streamers and stuff like that, which is an idea that kind of emanates or stems from Chris Lindahl, who's a real estate broker in Minnesota who went through a nasty divorce, and his assets were somewhat limited and not frozen, but he decided just to advertise the shit out of his business because that was one of the only avenues he had to spend money on. And I don't know how well that worked out for him. I'm assuming it worked out just fine. And I don't think his wife got as much money as she would have wanted. Um, so maybe these women will get a couple $100,000 after attorneys get their claws into it. Okay. So I also wanted to just kind of go over some of the tweets I've seen and read some comments quickly. Maybe do another quick stream here. So this is an account, Linda Traits. I think Linda has okay, so 13,000 followers. America is not sovereign anymore. Think about that. American taxpayers are now the slaves of the world thanks to corrupt Joe Biden. What do you mean, thanks to Joe Biden? This has been going on for a really long time. I don't think the border wall by itself would stop this huge influx of migrants. If anything, it's just symbolic of there actually being a border. Because if you look at that wall that is built, and there are previous sections of the wall that had already stood there, they'll just dig under it or they'll just push right through it. There's holes in the wall. The thing that really actually prevents the influx of migrants is a variety of strategies, including paying off the drug cartels in Mexico not to transport at $8,000 a head each migrant to the US border. So that's one strategy. It's probably one that has the biggest impact and solves a lot of it. And then there's another issue here where you cut off payments and you start sanctioning, issuing executive orders, sanctioning the individuals behind these NGOs, paying airfare for Venezuelans and Haitians to fly into Mexico and then cross the border from there. Because they make it look from an American vantage point like it's completely organic. Somehow these people took a boat to Mexico and then they're caravanning it up to the border. Or through South America, they're going through that Darien Gap all the way up into the United States. And that's not true at all. They're flying a lot of these Venezuelans into Mexico and then they're caravanning it up. So I would sanction these NGOs. And then the surveillance, the drone network, the surveillance network, the cameras, they have sensors, listening devices, ground movement sensors, stuff like that on the border, helicopter patrols. That catches, a little bit. That's just as powerful as the wall itself. If they want to build a wall, I think they should just figure out what sections, like near Tijuana, for example, have the most border crossings and build like a mile wall, or focus on those areas first for large scale surveillance and then just deploy a bunch of troops on the border. I think, there's going to be a troop surge on the border there in 2024, 2025, I guess 2025 in January, when, I'm 100%, you can never be completely sure in life of anything, but I'm very confident that Trump is going to win in 2024, barring any major world event. And I think for at least 3 months to stop the NGO movement of the migrants up, you're going to have troops deployed on the border, humanely preventing migrants from entering and reestablishing this legal immigration process. And at the same time, I think you're going to have to redirect some of the directives of like US Marshals or the other immigration ICE task forces to start rounding up a lot of the illegal immigrants that have been pushing into this country. And it's really sad and unfortunate. There was another tweet. Hold on, let me try and pull this up. Yeah, here's another one to get more of an American sentiment. So this is another migrant tweet. Back to the stream. Come on. From Laura Logan. One more thing. Your tax dollars are paying for this. We are financing the invasion of this country against our will, and no one is doing anything real to stop it. Well, I think that's true. No one is actually doing anything real. Problem is if anyone does anything, like, you know, you can bring attention to it, you can go down to the border, but if you're a congressperson or if you're in the Senate and you try and do anything, they're right on you. You'll get charged. The DOJ will probably try and charge you with any number of crimes, obstruction, yada, 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 you know, misuse of official government positions, shit like that. The state governors, Greg Abbott in Texas, what's her face in Arizona. Well, I mean, they've issued orders to start arresting people if they're in Texas and they're legally in this country. But I mean, how much resources do you have there to just start? I don't even know if, because they have to hand them back to ICE, and then ICE will just give them back. And, you know, put them in a different state. They'll just scatter them. And then, you know, you have everyone blaming both parties, but then primarily blaming Republicans for not impeaching Biden. Trisha Hope, the J6 congressional report. My representative is quite busy with ribbon cuttings and such. No time for the border. Got the country club, cocktail calendar. They don't want to go to the border. Jeff Lepla, the USA is overwhelmed with asylum seekers, and the plan is to allow in 300 million more by 2030. The federal government paid 500 billion last year to put up migrants in hotels, give them phones with cell phone service, food, medical care, etc. The cost on citizens and taxpayers is at insane levels. This is not humane. Ooh, there's going to be a response to this. Clara Brandon. Hopefully voters realize this and vote accordingly. The Biden administration should all be removed from office, starting with the big guy. Joseph, if the government is working against you, it is time to remove the government. Now, what was that, like a Thomas Jefferson quote? If the government becomes tyrannical, it's your duty as a citizen to oppose the government, something like that. It's tough because the government is so huge, and in the day of the Revolutionary War, the government was incredibly small, and it's a different game now. And you know, the government's always against you in one way or another. You have to pay taxes, so it's like it's very subjective. I think if enough people get together and decide on really core issues like immigration, for example, that the government is abusing its power, yes, I think that there needs to be lawful, you know, actions taken to impeach government officials like Biden, like Mayorkas. Okay, Denny Green seems to comment a lot on these. Congressional Republicans think by doing nothing, they're not responsible for what's happening. They are just as guilty as Democrats and just as useless. Baroness Von M. We have no choice. What do you expect us to do? Well, no one has any good ideas. That's really the problem. No one has any ideas. I think, for one, this is such a sensitive thing because, we're taught growing up that we should accommodate people who are vulnerable, who are needy, who just come to this country. And, it's a Christian thing, it's a Jewish thing, it's a Judeo-Christian value, it's even a Muslim value. When you go to a Muslim country, there's a duty on Muslims to help you if you're a foreigner to that culture. It's a human instinct to help people who have less than you or are new or traveling and stuff. But, I heard one analogy that this isn't like that, in that this is kind of like weaponized immigration. And that's true, but, there's dignity in every single individual. So it's hard for me personally to not want to help. It really is. That's like the one thing I fight the hardest. People accuse me of being super outspoken, and I'm actually really not. I'm just a neutral person. And I like helping other people. And I can't help it. It's just natural. But at the same time, it's like, well, you got to start thinking strategies here. Do you not do business with any migrant? Do you? And I think you could morally move in that direction. Especially in Chicago, where they're abusing their residency in this country. They're out begging when they're getting $1,200 a month. Meanwhile, Americans are broke and our jobs are being taken. Amnesiac Jack, we are taxed without representation. David, time for 75 plus million of us to stop paying taxes. That's actually a really good idea. But at the same time, it also is a bad idea because it wouldn't work. Everyone who refuses to pay taxes over time, if they make enough money, may or may not expose themselves to prosecution. Most, I think, people in the middle class who pay taxes don't really account for much of the revenue of the federal government, so it's not going to make a dent. And then, they're just going to get fined and sanctioned in the end anyways by the IRS, mostly just fined. It's not a bad idea. I think there was another con I was thinking of when I read this earlier, but now I can't remember it. It's a good starting point, though. Ovid Cawthorn. And that's the salt in the wound. We pay for every single bit of it all. At least let's see the details, including probably travel brochures in some instances. This is not normal, and what's really causing this migration? It's not climate. Could it be some agreement, debt, gratitude? Let's hear the first-hand accounts, see the details, receipts, and making our own conclusions, not some peddled narrative. Well, okay, so I think I read this earlier, or read something similar in this line of comments, and I agree. Like, we don't have any transparency in who's paying for these migrants to get here. The NGOs, we need receipts. We need to know who exactly is funding it. We need memos, we need emails, we need text messages. And so that's another potential solution. Of course, DOJ isn't going to help by issuing subpoenas or any sort of investigation whatsoever. And this is also the responsibility of ICE, and I'm sure ICE has its own investigatory arm or branch, investigative branch rather, and it's the burden really is on them to make sure that at least Americans have knowledge of who's actually financing this invasion operation. I think that's probably the best solution I've read in these comments. And I'm hugely surprised that more people are not pushing in that direction to get specific information on who is actually bankrolling all of this bullshit. Now, everybody thinks it's George Soros. Everybody thinks it's there's a couple other billionaires that I can't name off the top of my head, but everybody I think would assume that it is probably one of those, but you never really know. More importantly, if you have the evidence, that's more powerful than anything. And the other thing, like I was thinking about Loomer's stuff when she tweets stuff out and she makes accusations. And it's true, like you can kind of understand things, but evidence really is the ultimate when you're making an argument. And so with respect to actually getting some of the receipts here, it's vitally important, vitally. Just got some news. Read this. Well, let me check on this other screen first. Okay.
"2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine, and we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran."
Okay, North Korea really is like last on that list.
That's what concerns me most.
Okay, let's play this again.
2024 may be the year of a black swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine, and we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.
I also want to go through Laura Loomer's recent tweets where she talks about this and she's predicting some sort of major event in 2024. So this is coming from CBS, Face the Nation. Catherine Herridge, don't know anything about her. I do kind of recognize her face, but clearly she's kind of a stooge of the establishment, and she's now at least solidifying this talking point regarding quote black swan national security event. A black swan event is something that's going to cause major disruption in this country, and I'm looking at the actual definition of a black swan event, and it's an extremely negative event, which is difficult to predict. But that is what they're actually doing. I mean, they're making it difficult to predict by introducing this migrant crisis. But if they're sending out their establishment goons to talk about stuff like this shows you they know something is going to happen. And I am very concerned about, I need to be very careful about what I say. and I've been very, very cautious about this. I don't want to get it. All of my stuff is surveilled anyways. Um, I don't even want to talk. I'm very concerned about a few things, okay? I'm just going to leave it at that. And I feel frustrated because I can't talk about it. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to talk about it. But there are a few things that I can talk about. And that is your favorite boy, David Evan Shore. Now, I have a bunch of, oh, well, why hasn't David Evan Shore? This is the first link that pops up on Google. Why hasn't David Evan Shore been disbarred? Okay, so David Shore is a attorney in New York. He does all kinds of shit. And I shouldn't even have done that, but let's just look at the image section here. So we have new information about David Shore, which is Shore's mother, speaking of Zillow, sold her dumpy house in New York for something on par with about $1 million, give or take, and didn't appoint her son, David, as trustee in the estate. And the trust, I think, that held the property. And has significantly reduced the amount of control that David has, as well as limited the amount of money that apparently David has access to. So David's been posting a lot on Avvo. As you can see, there's 17 reviews and there's a 5-star rating, but all of the 5-star ratings here are within the last year or even in the last 6 months. These are clearly scam ratings posted by David. So this is posted, probably a fake rating posted by himself, probably another fake rating posted by himself or posted by one of his friends. I think every few months, David is making new accounts on Avvo. And then you notice how all of the ratings too, this is very unusual. Everybody is pretty familiar with how these ratings work on the internet after, living with Amazon for the past 20 years plus. And usually you'll have, with 5-star ratings, you'll have at least one description, but a lot of them are just plain 5-star ratings without any comment whatsoever. Now, Avvo, I can't remember exactly if a comment is required on these, and maybe it is, so maybe I'm wrong. But again, even if that's true, you wouldn't have a 3-paragraph comment. It would be like, oh yeah, David did a great job, or some other false statement, right? It wouldn't be like a lengthy explanation. That's another indication these are scam ratings. The other thing is they're all evenly spaced, 2 months apart. January 27th, April 3rd. Okay, that's not evenly spaced. This one's kind of evenly spaced. Okay, so no. Well, okay, I'm wrong about that. This one is posted by Amanda. Okay, yep. Using proper grammar. Okay. I'm not saying all of these are fake, but hold on, let me read this. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced. And then there's, here's another red flag. Literally a red flag. This lawyer was disciplined by a state licensing authority in 2018. So the grievance committee in New York, Jorge Dopico, I think, yeah, there was a public admonishment of David Evan Shore. And this is really, really stupid on David Evan Shore's part. And this is what they do in these ridiculous courts with people who don't deserve it. But David Evan Shore definitely did deserve it, which is that he originally, David Shore got a private admonishment, meaning it was kind of like sealed to the public and other attorneys. And theoretically, only the court system, and even then, probably only the grievance committee and the complaining party had knowledge, unless it was publicized, had knowledge of the underlying accusations, right? That were found to be, made into findings by the grievance committee, okay? But your boy, David Evan Shore, wasn't satisfied with a private admonishment, which is like the first level in the ladder of discipline. It's the lowest level. It's like, not getting it's a little bit more than getting a parking ticket, but on that scale, right? Like it's a petty crime almost, if you were to compare it, right? It's not a crime, but in the ladder of discipline. And then, so yeah, David Shore appealed that to the first department, and they reversed the decision, I think, and gave him a public admonishment, which is even worse than a private admonishment. So effectively, they were punishing David for making this appeal, which is so stupid. And it was really a stupid thing to appeal. So that's where you see this little alarm warning symbol. Boop. Boop. Oh, censured. Censured. Ooh. Oh, we have some documents here. And let me pull this up. Ooh, this is a good one. So Marcia Shore is David Shore's mother. Download this. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there was an accusation made in this lawsuit. I remember this now. That again, it's an accusation in this pleading, but there was an allegation made that David Evan Shore got into some fraudulent business deal involving a hostel in Cuba. So Cuba is a sanctioned state. You can't do business with Cuba. I think at the time when this business arrangement was developed. So that was one issue. And then the other issue, according to this allegation, and I'm laughing because it's pretty funny. And again, this is an allegation in the lawsuit. So paragraph 40, this application reflects DS and okay, this is poorly worded. This application reflects DS's whole rotten case, which centers around an illegal operating agreement drafted by DS to further his goals of hiding assets in Cuba and to set up a sex hostel. Does the arbitrator really want to preclude respondent from introducing this evidence in today's post-Epstein climate? it's very incendiary to make an allegation like this attached to the main thrust of the argument, which is that David Evan Shore was hiding assets by putting his money into a hostile type resort in Cuba. I have not seen any direct evidence of this. I've heard things, but I would say it's certainly possible given everything that we know about David Evan Shore. And sure, if you're just doing something simple with David Evan Shore, I don't know, getting some contract drafted, something really simple that takes a few hours. Maybe that's something David Evan Shore is really, really good at. And that's why he's getting these 5-star ratings, right? Of course, I don't believe that. I think they're fake, or at least the majority of them are. And even most people with 5-star ratings have at least 1 or 2 bad reviews. So there's trying to laugh. Okay, okay. David Shore. So Kevin Doyle is a grievance attorney in New York. He's one of Dopico's minions. Dopico is the managing attorney for the grievance committee. And there's a suggestion now that David Evan Shore has actually been turned into representing Kevin Doyle and Jorge Dopico, particularly given the climate that they're operating in, which is that they're going after all these Trump lawyers, including Giuliani, including Alina Habba. And these are Kevin Doyle and Jorge Dopico are some of the most evil, corrupt people on the planet. And the fact that they've now turned David Evan Shore to effectively represent them in one way or another by defending them online, as well as turn David Evan Shore into like almost a trusted informant. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let me look at one of these. There should be one review in here from Shore's wife, ex-wife, Bari. Where is it? Can't find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So Shore got his own ex-wife to review his work. I mean, talk about a conflict of interest. Wait, so his ex-wife is his client who he repeatedly sued in divorce proceedings and child custody matters? And I would presume that this is another fake review. Maybe David did this. Sounds like it probably is David doing this. Who knows? But if this is Bari's actual review, there's something weird going on here. Okay, so let's read this. David Shore, attorney. Whenever I have a legal issue or concern, I turn to David and have consulted with him many times over the years. Weird, because you're his ex-wife. I regularly recommend David as an attorney to others. No ex-wife would do that. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Have you ever heard of any ex-wife positively recommend their husband's business to others? I have never heard that in my life, unless there's some backstory that it's like an extremely positive, amicable divorce, So this is definitely not jiving. David is an extremely knowledgeable and skillful attorney. That's not true. He is a highly skilled litigator and an excellent brief writer. I've read many of Shore's briefs, and I would disagree. I recommend David in the strongest possible terms for all areas of general practice, but most especially in all things matrimonial. Really? Doesn't make any sense. January 27, 2023. I would bet you money that Shore either wrote this review and gave it to Bari, or he just did this himself. And I would probably say he did this himself. In fact, I don't even think he gave this to her. Oh, let's pull up Bari's Instagram. We might get paywalled here. Ooh.
Now, how come every single red light camera in the city catches me blowing yellows and I keep getting mail-in tickets for that? But yesterday, when a man tried to commit mass murder on a subway, there were no functioning cameras. Just asking for a friend.
That's true. Play this again.
Hi, so I just want to know, how come every single red light camera in the city catches me blowing yellows and I keep getting mail-in tickets for that? But yesterday, when a man tried to commit mass murder on a subway, there were no functioning cameras. Just asking for a friend.
I like it. It's very true. No disagreements there. Got some more docs. Play these. Okay, credibility. This is from the David Shore Bari Shore divorce decision. This is current first department appellate judge Ellen Gesmer, right? I believe she's, yeah. I don't know if, let me check, hold on. My mic just slipped here. So I think Gesmer was a trial court judge when this decision was issued, but Gesmer is now in the first department. Anyways, okay. Credibility. The husband was not credible. The appellate division, first department, has twice found that some of husband's contentions were, quote, without some in the record, Shore versus Shore. No, this is the appellate decision, sorry. With the citation. In addition, during the trial, the husband was repeatedly evasive and unwilling to answer simple, clear, and direct questions posed by the court and the wife's counsel. His persistent failure to answer direct questions resulted in the court granting countless motions to strike the husband's answers. Together with repeated admonishments to answer the questions as posed, he was argumentative and disrespectful towards the court. Although an attorney, he claimed not to understand the meaning of the provisions of the pendant light order, which made his obligation for child support retroactive to September of 2011. In addition, he made contradictory statements on various financial documents, such as a statement of his 2013 gross income on his return of $172,491. But on his application, my eyes are getting really bad. I gotta make this bigger, sorry. I am like blind. I know, it's terrible. It's all those years programming computers. but on his application for a mortgage to First Republic Bank of $199,927. Similarly, he presented business expenses to the neutral evaluator, which were much less than those deducted on his 2009 and 2010 tax returns. He used state assets to pay for his personal and business expenses without any court authorization to do so. He also continued to deny throughout the trial that the money judgments entered against him were the result of his failure to pay the wife monies due her under the pendent light order. Accordingly, the husband was not credible, and the testimony is entitled to little weight. Repeated admonitions to answer the questions as posed. Okay. I think I said admonishments. Couldn't see. Okay. Now back to regular scale. Okay, yeah. So yeah, David Shore is incredible. What's new? We got other evidence. Let's look. Oh yeah. So this is kind of funny. Oh man, now I'm lost. Where did it go? Where's the Bari Shore stuff? I swear. This is okay. Let me just copy this again. Right. So Bari Shore, as far as I understand, based on anonymous sources that I have, has posed very negative statements about Palestine, pro-Israeli statements, no surprise there, of course. And the anti-Palestine statements that Bari Shore has made, particularly on the internet, I think should be brought to light. You know, as someone who's biased, admittedly, towards peace, really, I want peace for both sides. And then you have Bari Shore trying to taunt anyone who supports Palestine. And I think crossing several lines with respect to actually suggesting that any of the individuals who are strongly supporting, of course, we get the paywall, Palestine should be, especially given this protest on Christmas in Midtown, should be prosecuted simply for protest. And we're not talking about the idiots ripping down the hostage posters that should probably get some pushback. But we're just talking about people out in the street yelling slogans, shouting things, stuff like that. What else do we got? What else do we got? Okay, yeah. So anyways, I should really put this on Scribd or somewhere else. And oh, there's a link here. I think this is the divorce decision, if you want to take a peek. Matter of Shore, 2018, New York Slip Op 07278. Issued on October 30th, 2018, First Department. What else do we got here? What else do we got? What else? Oh, we have, I got sidetracked there. Let's play this Black Swan video again because I have a better version of it.
2024 may be the year of a Black Swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine. And we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most. 2024 may be the year
Read
of a
some of the
Black Swan
comments.
event. This is
Can we? Okay, there we go. Stephen. Now it's hard for me to read. It's not showing on screen. I'll just have to get closer. Sorry. Stephen K. Eyes 2678. As if she feels she's the only American who understands and feels this way. This is from YouTube, by the way. So these are not, you know, quasi right wingers posting on X or Twitter now, because the political distinctions have changed a little bit on Twitter. YouTube kind of leans left and always has, especially lately. Plus, it's censored. So a lot of the right-wing comments are invisible. So it's amazing to see even this on YouTube. And I'm seeing more of this on YouTube, by the way. So that means that more and more people are understanding what's going on outside of these boxes, these political boxes. So Mara fan says they helped create the division. Yep. Joseph Shaw says, guys, get ready, with 7 likes. Mr. Happy Hawaiian says, it's the year of the facelift. Ooh, making fun of Catherine Herridge. Anonymous, we don't want Biden. Put a diplomat with regard for ours and international laws, like Senator Whitehouse in the White House in 2024. Don Smith, follow the pen. So that means follow the money, follow the documents. Will Material, Black Swan event, eh? And not a single mention of our unsecured southern border. Wow. Honeycomb life. An election year, how shocking that something weird is coming. Trying to be like The Simpsons, I suppose, allegedly. Roger Smith. Hopefully, Miss Herridge is wrong. Robert Gunner 667. FJB. Just saying, 1900. FDT, FGOP, and U. Bridget Lewis 1810. The common denominations and all of this mess is Ballas Biden. I think that's spelled wrong. David Tack 9738. But will this lower my interest rate? Mara fan again. Probable return of sorts. Wow, I'm actually incredibly surprised, because I kind of want to read the comments from the first one now, because YouTube is so slanted left, and you're seeing this, which is almost worse than Twitter in the harshness of it.
2024 may be the year of a black swan event.
So we have 50 comments. Okay, so these are the exact same comments. All right. Got it. Got it. Here's the other thing I really hate about YouTube is they get away with hiding stuff through this newest first top comments deal. So you gotta like explicitly go in here, make an affirmative action to change the sort, and then you're able to access all the comments. You can actually read these a little bit better too. Bob Badham 261. Something's coming. Well, it should, because this admin worked hard to make it happen. I don't know if more common folk are sort of activating now, at least online, to comment and stuff, where before they weren't because they thought it was ridiculous. And now they've realized how important everything is as far as like sentiment analysis and making sure that your voice is heard and so forth. But you're actually getting true honesty. Patriot 1755. She has become a tinfoil hat lady. So sad. I used to respect her reporting. Now it appears she has joined the conspiracy theory tinfoil hat club. I don't know if he's being sarcastic or what. Brian Hersey 9745. In other words, the people that are invested in destroying America are not going to take a chance on 2024 elections. It will be a shame when the world looks back at how a few dirty politicians and traitors destroyed this great experiment. Maybe in 2,000 more years, democracy will return. Chuckin Aurora. Biden sleeper cells crossing the southern border. He's purposefully destroying this country and everyone knows it. I don't know if it's Biden doing this all by himself. I think it's a whole, it's a number of people. It's a number of things. John Ryan 8859. Trump is the one responsible for the division in this country. Hey, there is some truth to that. Anonymous. Biden is such a useless politician. Anyway, the money blows. Put Senator Whitehouse. Oh, I read that one already. That's a new one, though. Okay. Another anonymous one. The U.S. needs a diplomatic and morally grounded leader, not a corrupt, demented old bureaucrat. Put Senator Whitehouse in the White House. This is a bot account. Okay. Mark Vin VT. Whenever the U.S. elects a president other than Donald Trump, there's always another war. All I wish is _2 says, definitely no doubt it is going to be anarchy and chaos, especially around the election time in and after summertime. Well, definitely something's going to happen. Power outage, cyber attack, Hamas, Iran. I think that's it. Oh, I wanted to play this too. This is a tweet from Radio Genoa. Muslim illegal immigrants threaten the Danes. Quote, we have 5 children, you have 1 or 2. In 10 years, there will be more Muslims here than Danes. There are only 5 million Danes. Soon, you will be exterminated. Play it.
Gå og fød flere børn, mand. Danskerne er 5 millioner, bliver snart udryddet, mand. Kig på svenskerne, kig på nordmændene, kig på finnerne, mand! Vi er flere millioner, mand! I er i et samfund, der ikke laver, I ligger og boller dyr. Det er derfor, I ikke har fået børn, mand! Har du brødre? Har du søstre? Har du brødre eller søstre? Har du brødre eller søstre? Har du brødre eller søstre, mand? De forældre, de knæppe dyr, mand! Det er derfor, de knæppe hinanden. De kunne blive der en bror og en søster, mand! Vi er kun
It's true. I think the Western world has been under this reproduction war for a long time, and it's mostly been targeted at women. You know, because men clearly want families for the most part, white men do, and it's women who have been taught and indoctrinated, brainwashed into this idea that they can have careers and that they need the perfect man and a whole host of other reasons why they should avoid having kids. And, you know, it's always women making family decisions. Women make the decision to have relationships. Women make the decision technically to have kids. And so, you know, targeting women with this brainwashing, and to some degree, but a significantly lesser extent with men, has led to the downfall of the Western world. Now, 10 years ago, it was kind of trendy, but now it's, you know, reversing. But we've already seen that, I think, you know, our culture and our society, and, you know, I don't even want to go into it, but I think it's been going on for even a lot longer than the last 20 years. I think it's been going on for probably 60 or 70 years. If you look at what happened to Minnesota, which was a predominantly, you know, Western European, Northern European population scheme for many, many, many years. And they imported a bunch of these Somalians in, and then the Hmongs. And now you have, so it's everything that I think is happening to this country kind of was tested in one way or another in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And we were seeing these things at the time, but we were constantly oppressed if we ever brought them up or if we talked about them in public. But we talked about them amongst our family. My mom, who I would say was kind of, I would say she slanted towards being, it depended on what was going on. But overall, she was a little bit right of center. She voted for Democrats. I think she voted for Clinton because she didn't want the Iraq war to continue and stuff like that. But you didn't have a full view of all the information back then. And again, I'm just speculating. I don't know actually who she voted for, but I'm just judging that based on what she said to me. The point here is that she'd always complain about the Hmongs in St. Paul. And this is even before I was an adult. She said the Hmongs would take over these houses in St. Paul and turn, and again, I don't want to sound racist. That's not my intent here, because she's more talking about just this cultural enrichment. And she was also supportive of Hmongs, and she liked people, and she liked people on an individual level. But she would jokingly say that, like, they would put 15 or 20 people in a house, which is true. They would come in and they would work these restaurants, and they would turn them into hotels. At times they had 30 or 40 Hmongs living in a small house. She went into one of these houses that had just a bunch of Hmongs coming in, because she was like, how the hell do they have 50 people packed into this small house? They were growing, this is a true story, by the way. They were growing vegetables in the living room. They had not even sod laid down, but they had the whole living room floor. They put down topsoil, they planted seeds, and they had a garden. I'm not kidding you. And my mom was like, what the hell? So that was like, she told me the story. I'm like, are you serious? And it wasn't so much that, you know, okay, people grow stuff all the time, right? They have gardens. Indoor gardens are nothing new, right? But it's usually like done in an organized fashion. She went in when the house was about to be sold, and they had destroyed the floorboards. They destroyed the entire house. It was totaled. So I'm sure this has changed now, and it has, but people are saying these illegal immigrants are taking over law enforcement functions, especially in Los Angeles. I think they just had their first class graduate from the police academy out there. People from Mexico, Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, now becoming police officers in Los Angeles. And it's not just police officers. That's one thing. That's really not even that bad. But when they become judges, when they become prosecutors, then things get really bad. And that's exactly what happened in metro area, in St. Paul, and to a lesser extent in Minneapolis, where these immigrants who came in here illegally initially and somehow got grandfathered in became prosecutors, and they had no respect for Judeo-Christian values at all. They had no respect for the Constitution because their families didn't sacrifice in combat in various world wars over hundreds of years. Like all of our other families who have immigrated into this country in the 1800s or even before that, sacrificed. And my mom was most insulted by that because my mother was a, you know, she worked in the court system for a long time, and she had a unique perspective on it. It's tragic. It's really tragic. All right, I'm going to shut this down. I'll probably be back tonight. We had some good vids. I appreciate the time we've spent together here today, and I will see you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brock and Agent X. We'll see you next time.